we are back. We have finally been able to go see the newest Marvel upload, and that is Thunderbolts with an asterisk, and we'll get into that a little bit. So, if you haven't seen the movie quite yet, please do know that this is spoiler warnings basically from here on out. So, if you haven't watched the movie, pause, go watch the movie, come back, get right into it. We're going to break it all down. Going into Thunderbolts a little bit more, it is the final movie of Phase 5. So Phase 5 is now complete. Well, technically not. We still have Ironheart to release, which is weird because Ironheart releases, and then as Ironheart is completing, you have Fantastic Four First Steps, which is releasing, which starts Phase 6. So it's very close together. Other phases have been a little bit more. There's been more month or week or more time than this week time frame that they're giving us. So overall, what were your guys' overall thoughts of Thunderbolts in general?
I gave it 8 out of 10. I feel like the average score is an 8 out of 10 or a
I
7
would
out of
agree.
10 for this. But I also think we all agree that this is the best, if not top two, movie since Endgame, right? For Marvel.
Yeah.
Um, I would say it's a top 5. I don't know if I'd say it's 2.
The only things that I see people putting above it are Guardians 3, which I respect, but to me, this is the best movie since Endgame to come out.
Well, I
I
mean, I'm
would
sure a lot
put.
of people are putting that No Way Home over it,
I was
but
gonna say I would put No Way Home. I would put Guardians 3,
Not in
and
terms of project, in terms of movie, because like Loki season 1 and 2, I would put above it.
I was gonna say Loki season 1 and 2 are the only two things that I would maybe put above this. But other than that, the only two movies I would put above are No Way Home and Guardians 3.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes this so different is we have been lacking in a mature and emotionally heavy movie since literally since Endgame, I would say. Um, we haven't been this grounded in a Marvel project in a long time, especially with all these B tier and C tier characters. Like Yelena has become more of a household name as time goes
Yeah,
on, despite her only being in 1.5 Hawkeye episodes in Black Widow. She's quickly become a fan favorite.
yeah, she's become one
John
that I really
Walker
like.
has gotten his redemption arc. People are back on him after the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing. People love Lewis Pullman as Bob and Sentry.
Love him.
Red Guardian remains a fan favorite. Ghost becomes an actual character, which I was really excited about, and then everybody loves Bucky. So
I don't going. I don't really know. Like, Ghost was more prevalent than in what Ant-Man and the Wasp,
right,
but she still didn't
Yeah,
really
because she
have
was
like
like
a
the main
lot.
villain, quote unquote.
She still didn't really have a lot in this movie. Like, she to me was still kind of just there. Like,
She was more of
agreed.
like a
she was there
like
kind of for plot conveniences, and
I was gonna
I
say
would
like
probably
when
say
they
is my
needed to
biggest
get that
complaint about the
getaway
film.
car and stuff like that. Like
Right.
she was
Yeah,
able to go.
but she doesn't really still have much emotional or like character depth.
And I think they
And I
had to
don't
do
really,
that because of Ant Man and the Wasp. Like they already really kind of
yeah,
developed her in that. And I think the nice part about it too is that like we understand her character. Like she doesn't want to be a bad person. Like she wants to
hmm
be a good guy, but she like just her trajectory and how she's kind of been placed in life has put her on that side. And so like her working with Valentina or working for Valentina and stuff like doesn't surprise me, and how she's kind of just like along for the ride. Like she's not really sitting there and telling them like, no, like I want to do this instead. She's kind of just there for the ride because she wants to be a part of something. At least that's how I took it. So I understand them not really fleshing her out.
right. And I think especially with the fact of, I guess we can bring up the asterisk becoming the new Avengers as opposed
Yeah.
to the Thunderbolts. I feel like she will become more of a character, and I think the big thing was I was really happy to see that like this, these are awesome fight scenes that they
Mm-hmm.
made. The fact that like she's figured out her powers because she never understood how to use her powers in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like throughout the entire movie, she was still
Right.
kind of like glitching around a lot. And so I think that was enough of a quote unquote character development to really bring me on board. Cause like I'm just excited to see what that is for the future. Cause I think she
Yeah.
could become more interesting.
And I think she's one of those characters too that like a lot of fans don't really care how she like if she just develops a bunch of stuff, no one cares. Like
Right.
it would be basically like if she was like Ray from Star Wars, where she's just like magically learning all of this stuff. She's not the main character, so no one's gonna care. In this case, it's like, all right, cool. She learned how to control her powers. That would make sense since we last saw her. What, 10 years in the timeline at least? Like,
Yeah.
8 years since the last time we saw her. So it makes sense.
I will say for cons on that side, for anyone who's seen it, when they go into the void, I wish we could have gotten quick little snippets of everybody like doing one-offs in their own room, because all we know is they go in and then all of a sudden they appear in the one room. I wish we could have seen maybe something new with Bucky and Hydra. We never have seen anything from Alexi's backstory. Maybe something with Ghost and being like experimented on by the government. We haven't really gotten to see post Falcon U.S. agent, where like they talk about in the movie, like his marriage falls apart and he becomes like a little suicidal in that aspect. Like those were things I wanted to see, and so I wish the movie was like 5-10 minutes longer just for that part of it.
Right. Did you see the things that they're like early? We talked about this a little bit more. There's early concepts of, Baron was maybe supposed to be in it. Baron Zemo was supposed to be in it. You had Kang that was potentially supposed to be part of the. One of the things that I saw that they shot down was that Natasha Romanoff was going to, and like Scarlett Johansson was going to return as Black Widow and be in a void room scene.
That would have been really interesting. I wouldn't have hated that if they did that. But I thought the stuff that they did was like very dark enough.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it was nice because if you brought in ScarJo, it would be like,
it would make sense.
You're doing the fan service, so then a lot of fans are going to be upset because like it would feel like it's not there for story purposes. That's one, and then two, it's about Yelena now. Like you said, these are all characters that are like C tier basically, and have kind of moved their way up, especially Yelena. And we don't really know a whole lot about her past. We can assume because it's probably going to be very similar to Natasha's. However, it explored a lot of the basically post blip, where she has no family, her sister's gone. How does she interact? And so I enjoyed that. I'm glad they didn't go that ScarJo route.
I think one thing I do want to ask that we haven't talked about, they came out and said at no point in any of the writing processes did they ever think of including Thaddeus Ross Red Hulk. They were never going to do it. In the comics, that's where they get the Thunderbolts name, is from Thaddeus Ross's Thunderbolt nickname. How did we feel about them making a joke about the Pee Wee soccer team? Because I thought it was like perfectly fine. I didn't have a problem with it.
I mean, it was fine with me.
I haven't seen anybody complaining about, because I think everybody understands with like Thaddeus Ross, for those who haven't seen Brave New World, he's on the raft in prison. So like it wouldn't make sense for him to have been like given naming rights.
It would have made more sense if Thunderbolts came out before Falcon or the Captain America 4. That way, this was a team that Thaddeus Ross was putting together, and that's why he calls them Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, except Val has literally appeared in like every single project since Endgame. I just went back and rewatched Wakanda Forever, and I rewatched not Brave New World, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and she is in all of those projects.
Oh,
and,
no, I
like,
get it. I think
so. Like, I think it makes sense that like they knew they were never going. I think they might have had a plan at the very beginning to like somehow incorporate Red Hulk, but he was never in the concept arts or anything. So,
well, like to me, it would have made more sense if he was in it. Like prior, he put together his team because, what's her name?
Val.
Val. It would make sense if Val was the head of his administration, CIA, which I think she is, but he was impeached when he was arrested.
Yeah.
I think. But to me, it would have made sense that way if they would have got Thunderbolts in. But it's not that big of a deal to me. It's like, okay.
I don't think I've seen anyone complaining about it, which was kind of my biggest surprise. I feel like I would have. I also think that they were going to do something along the lines of what you just said, and then I don't think Red Hulk was the original plan for Brave New World. I think they probably thought of something else, and then it got scrapped, and they were like, well, we still have this other answer, and it's still pretty good.
Honestly, it probably would have made more sense if essentially what had happened in Thunderbolts happened in or what would have happened in Captain America 4 would have happened in Thunderbolts. Thaddeus Ross puts together this team. They maybe handle something small like them kind of like in the whole chamber in the beginning of the film and them escaping.
If them solving the leader dosing Hulk, him dosing Red Hulk, the whole plot of Brand New World, them solving that case could have been really interesting, as opposed to Sam and
exactly.
Falcon
and then
it.
if we had them do it instead, but they can, even though like he put together the team, they're the ones who stop him, and they just don't kind of carry the Thunderbolts name. And that could have been Val's plan all along, where it's like, hey, we're the Thunderbolts, but then rip forward. Now it's the new Avengers because she knew that he was doing that, so she organized to take him down. Yada yada yada.
I think that's also part of it. I don't. No, I think that maybe could have worked because he wanted to build the Avengers, and he asked Sam to do it. So maybe that was going to be his government designated Avenger squad. So yeah, that could have worked. I have a feeling with all of the pushbacks and scraps and things that happened along the years,
changed.
That was the original plan, and it got changed.
And it got changed. But honestly, for what they released, it was fun. I mean,
I really did enjoy this.
I haven't
really. Do you think it got changed because of Thunderbolts? Like Thunderbolts as being the ending of Brave New World, because they did a lot of reshoots. Do you think that kind of stuff got changed because of the way that Thunderbolts ended up, and like how they were like they finished Thunderbolts and then they were like, oh, hold on, it doesn't make sense when it comes to Brave New World. So instead of changing Thunderbolts because they liked it too much, then they go and change Brave New World. I wonder if that
I do, but also I don't, just because they did come out and say Red Hulk was never going to be a part of this story, like even from when it was first announced. And I think that was one thing when they first announced it and they put out the graphic of like who was going to be involved. Nobody cared about this movie, like myself included. I just didn't care at the time. And I'm like completely 180
they were all
on it.
C-tier characters.
Right.
The only one was Winter Soldier, who everyone was like assuming he would die in this movie.
Because we all thought
he's been here forever.
Yeah, we as the fandom all thought that this was just them throwing together C-tier characters to try and make a last-minute cash grab before like Kang Dynasty would have happened. And I think everyone was very surprised by what we got. I will also say this is one of the best advertised movies Marvel has made in a very long time. Between the A24 trailer and then just the like what they showed, because all of the trailers they showed basically had 80% of the same footage just rearranged. They refused to show a lot of stuff.
I would say the only since Thunderbolts, the project they did best on advertising was Deadpool Wolverine.
Yes, I was going to say between that and Spider-Man, but the thing is, they knew the fans would hype that one up themselves, that they could do the bare minimum.
True.
This one, they had to get everyone back in theaters, buy back into the Marvel formula. And I think they did really good. The A24 trailer that they posted was really what sold me on it.
I have a question. Maybe this flew over my head and I didn't realize it. So, Bucky's a congressman, and we explore that. Okay, he's a congressman in the movie, and he's at parties, and he's the congressman, and when he goes to collect the Thunderbolts, basically, like Yelena and John, whatever, he's still a part of Congress, correct?
I technically think so, because
when he's on the motorcycle.
Right, because he kidnapped them and said they needed to testify, and that's why he tied them all up.
Right.
So it's almost like he's acting
with that other congressman. So
with Wendell Pierce, who just appeared and nobody knew he was in the movie.
I was like, oh, okay. I kind of. This is the one thing I hate with Marvel.
I think he was playing both bounty hunter and whatchamacallit. He was playing like both bail bond officer and congressman at the same time, where he just was going to find people so they could testify, but also like he probably shouldn't be doing that because he's a congressman.
Well, my question to it is that they go to Avengers Tower that day, and then in the tower, Valentina says to him, like the quote of like, congressman that only made it half a term or whatever. Like, did elections already pass? Like,
I think she was implying that like his actions were going to get him like kicked out of the house. I think that's what she was more saying.
Okay,
of like, he went and blew up a convoy. He's definitely not getting back into the house anymore. Like he's thrown that life away.
Because I saw it, when she's like I was thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, this all happened in the past 24 hours. How was he a congressman and now he's not? Like impeachment doesn't go that quickly. Now maybe I'm thinking into it too much, and that's not how it works. But and then the other.
I also think she was just trying to rile everybody up at that scene.
Yeah, that too. Like you said with the I forget the actor's name, the other congressman that shows up.
Wendell Pierce.
Yes. That's the one thing that like I have a problem with Marvel is that there's actors like him that I really enjoy seeing in other projects, and I think that he would be a really cool like actual hero or like an important character, and now he's cast as this congressman that we're only going to see probably this one time and never see him again. So it's just like dang,
Bill Murray in Quantumania.
Yeah, like stuff like that where it's like, all right, well, can't use him anymore. Like, I don't know if you could take this into consideration, and they'll probably void it anyway. But Jenna Ortega's character, she plays a girl in Iron Man 3. She's becoming one of the most popular actresses in the entire world right now, and they might not. I mean, they might find a way to just retcon it. Who cares? But
I think people would be okay with that.
I was gonna say, I think people are gonna be okay with it. No one's gonna care.
I think a lot of people forget that she was in Iron Man 3 anyway. So to them, to everyone else, it's like, oh my god, it's Jenna Ortega.
Right.
And then only to people like us, where it's like, hey, she technically plays.
I think it would be weird if the kid from the actual kid from Iron Man 3 who like helps him, and then like when he gets older plays a different character. Like that would be something that'd be weird.
Right.
But I don't think, because Jenna Ortega has a 2-second on screen no line role, so like, nobody cares, and she's so young you can barely recognize her.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts?
Just overall, I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, 8 out of 10. It is my second in Phase 5. The only thing I have above that is Guardians 3, and then
I have this at the 1 and Guardians at the 2, but both with an 8 out of 10.
I would agree.
And then it is my number 14 best movie throughout the entire MCU or MCU project. Excuse me, not movie.
I was gonna say this is easily one of the upper echelon MCU movies in general. Like I can say without thinking about it, top 15 movie, but like possibly even cracking top 10.
Would you agree? These are the like few movies I have above it. Age of Ultron.
I am a massive Age of Ultron defender. I love that movie, but I think I would say Thunderbolts above it. But if I wouldn't like.
I have Doctor Strange above it.
That's an underrated project. But
I have Spider-Man Homecoming above it.
No, I would say this is better than Homecoming.
I have Black Panther above it.
I'm not very high on Black Panther. So Black Panther is probably 15 in my top 15, if even that. Okay.
I have Iron Man above it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think that's pretty much it for like all the ones that I have below it. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a mess.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Loki season 2.
It's hard to compare the seasons to the movies.
Ragnarok.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are just like a few that I had below it.
I need to make a
overall
list.
Very happy.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's definitely one of Marvel's all-time best.
Yeah, it's a top 15. My one buddy said, he texted me, he watched it today. He gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and it's in his top 5 MCU projects.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a top 5 best MCU project, but like if that's someone's favorite MCU movie of all time, I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I don't think I'd argue, because like Guardians 3 is in my top 5 projects of all time. But I love Rocket, and I've loved him since I was like little, and so I love that they had a movie centered around him,
right?
And like the emotions and stuff behind it are really cool. So that's why I just connect with it more. I would understand if people connect with this movie a lot more because of the messaging that comes with it. And so they decide that like it's one of their top 5. I think
that's my favorite thing about and someone said the people who don't like Thunderbolts are the reason why Moon Knight failed, because the
Ooh,
split personality between Bob's
I
like
like
drug
that.
addiction, like he's extremely bipolar, and they talk
Right.
about it like in depth in the movie.
I like that.
I can't remember who it is. Someone did a YouTube uh breakdown of like Easter eggs and stuff, and they
Right,
when Valentina pulls up his file and it's him with the mug shots from like rehab or whatever,
right.
he freeze framed and like read off everything, and he was like heavily addicted to meth. He was extremely bipolar. His dad wasn't there. His mom, I don't want to say killed herself, but I think she was bipolar and had
Right.
alcohol drug problems. And so like it got really dark, and then like especially with Yelena's backstory, like
Right.
when uh they were gonna punch the kids by whipping them, and she jumps in front of her former self so to like
Yeah.
protect her, even though like it doesn't matter. Like there was some really mature things
Oh
going on
yeah.
that I didn't expect.
The
But like
one
the
thing
other thing is there were some hilarious moments that like the humor was really good, which is another thing that
mhm,
Marvel's been missing.
that okay, I know that we all are thinking of that one scene with Red
Yes.
Guardian. Oh my gosh, dude, that could be. We all it happened, and we all just looked at each other and we're like,
That
Oh, I
might
got
honestly
it.
be like
"No
the
way, they
best
just did that."
that might be the best moment of the movie, just because like it showed both tones of like, yeah, they finally like Regard, he finally got to be the
Right?
hero he had talked about all movie. He saved this little girl, she was so happy, and then she's dead.
Yeah.
And it
Like,
was like
Brayden laughed.
I was laughing out
dude,
of
it's
like
hard not to
I
laugh.
was laughing out of
Brayden,
like coping
Brayden laughed.
because I
Okay,
was like I
Brayden
couldn't
laughed.
believe what they just did.
What a horrible
Um,
person. Brayden laughed.
Yeah, any
the
final
one
thoughts
thing
on that?
you were talking about with Sentry and like his drug problems and mental health
Mm-hmm.
problems. The one thing that I worry about is that because Sentry's he's gonna be a part of this for I don't know how long. I would say a while,
Yeah.
but they could do something with it. I don't know. I hope they don't like sideline that kind of stuff because that's not something that just goes away, and a lot of people
Right.
know that. And so I'm
Like don't
I'm
turn him
worried.
into a joke in a way,
Yeah,
or
I'm worried that they're not gonna highlight it as much, and I'm worried that they're gonna like kind of suppress that and not give it a whole lot of light. So
if
hopefully they just don't do
if
that.
I'm Marvel and I'm making my new Avengers movie, I'm rehiring Jake Schreier to make that, because he will make sure that like
Yeah,
we keep the same tonality. Because like
yeah,
Louis Pullman even said in a interview that like Sentry's not gone. He just has to put him in hibernation because he's afraid Void will come out too, and like that's a
right.
legitimate part of the character. So
Yeah,
I think we might legitimately see something in Doomsday of like him trying to
like a
control that.
Hulk,
Yeah,
Hulk kind
because
of thing.
obviously we learned that like it took Banner a while to control Hulk, and then this is kind of going to be the same thing because it was a what 14-month time jump between that and the end
Yeah,
credit scene.
yeah, and he
So
had to
like
turn it into
he's
Sentry in a year.
clearly working on it, and he even said in the end credit scene like he can't be Sentry without being the other guy.
I did the dishes.
Yeah, I did the dishes. Um, yeah, I'm excited. Um, okay, so the other thing we wanted to talk about was new movie news and unfinished plot lines going into what could be a series bigger than Infinity War Endgame.
The final phase of the multiverse saga, according to Marvel, Phase 6 is supposed to be the
Right.
final. And it
Uh,
what's weird to me is that you have Fantastic Four that's starting the phase, and then Secret Wars is ending the phase, and Secret Wars is out in what is it, 2 years?
yes,
27, right?
technically.
I that and there's not that many projects that are announced. There's only what, four
There's no
movies?
project. There's
There's
three.
Fantastic Four, Doomsday, Spider Man, and
Oh yeah, four.
Secret Wars. So four
Um,
movies.
yeah. But again, like I'm not worried they're going to do the Infinity War Endgame back-to-back formula. They filmed
Yeah,
the end credit scene for Thunderbolts on the lot. The Russos filmed it,
yeah.
and then the Fantastic Four is undergoing reshoots right now. Blah blah blah. I guarantee you, they are filming right now in the Doomsday studio making the end credit scene.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I guarantee that's all it is. And for people freaking out, remember Avengers 2012 did reshoots the night before their grand premiere.
They went to the they did their end credit scene
Yeah, they shot
the night
it the
before.
night
That's
before.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because Chris Evans is hiding his beard in his hand that he grew for Snowpiercer.
Yep.
Okay, with that being said, Joey, do you want to start us off on the? Do we want to do the news or do we want to do the? Do you want to start us off on the plot points?
Let's go with the plot points.
Okay.
One of the biggest ones that I have noticed, and is because I enjoy the character a lot, and it was what was it? It was the first not major but major plot point out of Phase 4, and that is Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Vision was in WandaVision, died, but gave his memories to White Vision. So White Vision is basically just Vision at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Out there in the world, we have not heard anything. Literally, there is no mention of him in any show, in any movie whatsoever. There is reportedly the show Vision Quest, which is supposed to be about that, and Ultron is supposed to be coming back in that show. I don't know how. Maybe it's by memory or whatever, but there is no confirmation of anything related to that. Paul Bettany has not said anything. Kevin Feige has not said anything. There is nothing. And so it's concerning to me because that was, I think, one of the first major plot points for this multiverse saga, and they haven't touched it. Now, granted, it's something that's hard to touch because if you touch on it, then you're going to be talking about Wiccan. You're going to be talking about Wanda, their other kid that I forget his superhero name.
Speed.
And you're going to be bringing that all back, and I don't think they want to tackle that quite yet. I think they want to, but they can't do it quite yet. So for me, it's one of those things that I'm just like, you mentioned it almost,
Right.
what was it, 5 years ago? Was it 2020?
I also blame Armor Wars. He was supposed to be a part of that, and then that got turned into Vision Quest, kind of.
Wasn't it a TV show, and then it was a movie, and now it's canceled?
I think they got wrapped up a little bit before they started cutting stuff and pushing stuff back properly. That was just a part of that mess, and they've pushed aside. The one thing that they have said very recently was Vision Quest will be the final TV series to feature a major movie character. Every other TV show we're going to get post Vision Quest is either going to introduce something brand new, or it's going to be for a minor character introduced in a movie.
Yeah. Well, that Armor Wars leads me to another plot point that hasn't been, and a lot, and is Secret Invasion, where Rhodey was a Skrull for is reportedly 8 years or something.
Yeah,
it was back since
the Civil War injury.
Civil War, yeah. So he missed Tony's death. He missed Spider-Man's everything. He missed everything.
The blip.
He missed the blip. He missed everything. And we find out that he's they take him away in Secret Invasion, so he's safe. But everyone was so mad at that, mainly also because Rhodey is one of the best friends of Tony, and he didn't even know he died.
Right.
And it's been forever. At that point in time, it's 2023 or 24, something like that.
Yeah.
Or no, it's 2023 when the blip happens, so it's well after that. It's 25 or whatever.
Well, it's a 5-year
that's another plot point.
Time jump in Endgame, so it's 28.
Well, I thought it was 2019 was,
well, yeah,
and then it was a 5-year jump from 2019. So Endgame is 2023.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry.
So then it's like give or take a year or two.
Because then it's so hard because there's so many time jumps. I forgot, I just rewatched Wakanda Forever last night. The opening scene is T'Challa dying, and then there's a 1-year time jump between that and the rest of the movie. So I couldn't figure out where that technically lied in the timeline.
Right. Yeah, and then with the Endgame thing, they basically took the blood and the powers of the heroes from the Battle of Earth, and then they took them, and now they're in I forget her name, Emily Clark's character,
Yeah.
and they made her basically the most overpowered and unstoppable character in all of Marvel. Haven't touched it.
I
Nick
think they were
Fury,
supposed to
we know
be
he's in space,
referencing.
but
Yeah, I think they were supposed to be referencing Super Skrull there because they
oh
knew
yeah,
he wasn't going to be the villain of Fantastic Four, and then they just didn't know where they were going to go from that.
yeah.
I don't know. I think they're going to kill this storyline off. I don't think we will probably see the Skrulls again.
I'm fine with that. I just
It's too confusing for them to continue it, especially if
it's
they're
too
going to soft
confusing.
reboot after Secret
I
Wars.
mean, yeah, Secret War's probably going to be a soft reboot, so they're probably not worrying about it because they're like, who cares? The
Yeah,
storyline's going to be over because it's going to disappear.
that's another really good point. The one thing that I was also thinking about when we were talking about projects, Wonder Man. Like,
Oh
what
yeah,
is
when is
supposed
that
to be?
coming out?
What?
It's supposed to be December. Supposed to.
Supposed to.
I'm
forgot about
wondering because we were talking about this in our Doomsday episode with Molecule Man. I
Yeah.
don't know how he would tie in, but we've said Molecule Man needs to happen. So, however they could do
Yeah.
it, Wonder Man could introduce a Molecule Man and develop that a little bit, which would be great. But I don't know what they would do. I don't know how they're doing that.
I don't know. I feel like we're just gonna have to like put some blind faith out there and just accept some of the things because like I feel like I feel like the Fantastic Four end credit scene, whatever that is going to tell us enough to satisfy us for the time when Doomsday. Like it's going to answer at least one question, and we'll be like,
Right.
okay, now we can buy into this.
I mean,
Um,
unless Fantastic Four gives us Molecule Man some way, shape, or form.
I don't see that because the only actor who hasn't been confirmed a role is John Malkovich, and there's no way he's playing Molecule Man. People think he's going to be Mole Man. Um, I think like scene one of Doomsday could just be like Molecule Man in some universe, just like living life, and then like Doom just comes for him, and like that's and then title card, like that's the movie.
Maybe.
I don't think it'd be hard to introduce him. I think they could just like introduce him through an incursion, and nobody would think twice. Like anyone who knows the story of the Secret Wars would be completely fine with it. Yeah, that's my big thing. Yosef.
Um, I was. What was it that I was thinking? Oh, I've been watching a lot of DC stuff, not like DC stuff, but like other content guys talking about DC, the importance of Superman, what Peacemaker's bringing involved, like all that kind of stuff. And I was just thinking to myself that Marvel's kind of in the same stepping stones, not exactly, but similar stepping stones as the DCEU was with Zack Snyder, where they're at a point where they basically just need to go, and like you guys said, soft reboot. Like, they just need to go to Secret Wars, do Secret Wars, and then be done. And they're never going to say it because it happened with DC, where James Gunn was announced as creative director or whatever his title is, and he announced all of these projects, but they still had The Flash, Aquaman: The Last Kingdom,
Right.
that were still Blue Beetle that were still waiting to come out, and they had bad box office performances, and they hurt Warner Brothers because no one cared because they knew that that
Right.
stuff was going to be left alone anyways. So that's one
I
thing that,
think I think that's why
as a
they
fan,
haven't
I'm annoyed.
announced. I think that's why they haven't announced anything is because
Oh yeah,
they're just trying to get people just to buy in one movie at a time. They're
yeah,
only focusing on Thunderbolts, and that's fine because it ended up being a success and people love it.
right,
Um, and so I think from what we understand of leaks and whatnot, the next phase is going to be called the Cosmic Phase, Phase 7-8. It's
yeah,
going to be the Cosmic Phase. It's going to deal with space, but not the multiverse. And then the big bad over the three phases is going to be Annihilus, which is a really cool character to make your big bad. I think we might finally get the Nova TV show that they had said might happen years ago.
right.
And
That would make
so,
sense for
but I
Cosmo.
don't think that they want to. I think they finally learned their lesson, and it took them this long of announcing stuff too early. Like they've learned it with Blade because that has just been a disaster.
Yeah.
And they've learned it with everything else that they've pushed back and scrapped and whatnot. So I think they've finally gotten to the point where they're like, can we just focus on the now and then we'll talk about the later?
I think the other thing that I would be okay with, and taking kind of a page out of the DCU's book, is not making it like Elseworlds, but taking Spider-Man, who we know is going to be a grounded hero now. He's not going to be in all of these space things as much. Like, they
Right.
want to make him a grounded hero. Daredevil is a grounded hero. Punisher is going to be a grounded anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. I feel like they should announce something where if they do this cosmic phase,
Right.
just announce and just say, hey, we're going to still make Spider-Man movies, but they're not really going to pertain to what we're doing in the Nova series, in Wonder Man, and all these other things
Right.
that are going to be out in space, so
Well,
that
I
way
think
people don't get them confused.
I think part of that is they don't want to talk about the future because of the X-Men are going to be a part of it. So they're
Yeah.
that's I think that is the main roadblock is if they're going to do X-Men, there's no reason to talk about it until post Secret Wars because they don't want to give anything away. They have come out, new stuff has come out for the Spider-Man movie. Uh, we have one. It is no longer going to be a multiverse story. It is going to be a quote soft reboot for the Spider-Man trilogy, just to give them like a new quote unquote origin. It's going to be a grounded, very grounded and emotional, based off of the success of Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is they have hired the fight choreographer from Shang-Chi for this movie.
Okay.
Also, they are eyeing actor Daniel Wu to play Mr. Negative. So he
Okay.
is there's going to be two villains. They said it seems like Mr. Negative is going to be one of them. That seemingly got leaked a while ago. Oh, the other news that came out recently. Joey and we talked about this off screen. Liza Colin-Zayas, who plays Tina in The
Oh,
Bear,
yeah.
has been cast for Brand New Day. Now they did say that they were hiring, the casting people for teachers for when Peter goes to college. But a lot of people think because of who she is and her ethnicity, she's going to play Rio Morales. I don't love that, and I think Joey agrees, right?
Yeah. In most renditions of the Morales family, Rio is of a younger age. In
Right.
the Spider-Man games, she's, I'd say, around 30s or 40s. In the Spider-Man movie, I would say she's 30s, maybe even late 20s, if you will.
Right.
And
That implies that like Miles would be almost Peter's age, and like
yeah,
even in Spider-Man 2, the video game, he's about 18 because he's finishing college or finishing high school.
right.
I think my big thing is Tom Holland as Spider-Man is not old enough to be a mentor, and it just
No.
I don't want to say I hate Miles Morales because I don't. I think he's a very good character. I am Miles Morales out. I think it's a little oversaturation for the character with the success of the Spider-Verse movies. Just leave it alone for a little while.
Right. I think the thing for me is
I
just
do hope she's just going to be a teacher in the movie, and like she's not going to be whatchamacallit. Mikey, can you pay
I
attention?
I
am.
would like I would like for her to be kind of in the role of like Bill Murray's character, where she's one that's kind of there just to get you to go to the box office, go to watch this movie, although they don't really need it because it's Spider-Man.
Right.
But
Well,
just
she could
like
be
what,
like the next. She could be that one professor that like every college student has a better relationship with. So maybe she's like
right,
the next Aunt May to him or something.
or like a counselor or something like that. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that idea.
Yeah,
Or like
because
maybe
she's a
be
very
her
good
like
actress,
boss.
and
You know what would be funny if she was like the tenant.
oh, like the new Mr. Dickovich.
Yeah, like if
yeah.
she's just like in and she's just like there and she's just there for like comedic relief kind of
Right.
things. She has funny moments and she's just like, where's my rent? Like that I would love for her character because one, we know her to be like this serious character in a lot of different things. And so I think that would be funny, but
Yeah, always yelling at Jeremy Allen White.
I
We do also know J.K. Simmons will return as J. Jonah Jameson.
yeah. So
which
I
is I
don't.
think everyone is very happy about that.
Yeah.
I don't think she will be Rio Morales because I don't think this movie's gonna have Miles in it at all. Miles
I
doesn't
think it would be
actually get.
so weird to introduce him in this movie.
So
I don't
Miles
think they would
doesn't.
introduce him, but they might introduce her as like a mayor or,
I mean, maybe,
councilwoman, whatever.
but
Because that's what she is, at least in like the games and stuff.
so. Um, for those who don't know, Miles Morales is actually in the Ultimate Universe, which is a separate universe from the main 616 universe. He gets brought over into the 616 universe post 2015 Secret Wars. I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar and they maybe introduce Miles in
My
Secret Wars from a
my
separate
thing is just
universe, and now his
there's
universe is being
too much
combined.
Miles in Marvel media right
Oh,
now to
I
like
I,
it
I
would be
100% agree.
oversaturated. And I think Tom Holland is too young to be a mentor. And like this is supposed to be a new phase in his life. Like he should not be also trying to figure out how to train a Spider-Man during all of this happening.
You know what I wouldn't be surprised about? If they purposefully delayed Spider-Verse. Because Marvel in their head goes, hold on, Across the Spider-Verse just performed massive numbers. Everyone
Yeah.
actually loves the smiles. So instead of doing the movie next year like we said we're going to come up with some bullshit reasons. We're going to say that it was writing purposes, that they've had a hard time with actors, blah, 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 blah.
Animating.
And animation, whatever. And that we're going to push this movie because now it's scheduled for 2027 and it's
Right.
before Secret Wars. So what if Beyond the Spider-Verse, because it is called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, if now they go beyond the Spider-Verse, do that 2015 incursion type thing, and it's one of those things that like it's happening during the events of Secret Wars, and there's an end credit that leads to Secret Wars, or is like towards the end of Secret Wars.
I wouldn't be surprised with that.
Then we get the
I
movie, then the Miles Morales becomes into our
I
thing.
I hope they
blah,
don't
blah,
do
blah.
that, but I do hope that like the third movie of Holland's second trilogy is a Spider-Man team up movie. Like I would like that because he'd be old enough by the time that movie eventually comes out.
Right.
But like I don't want it anytime soon. I just feel like it would make zero sense.
Do you think that they will get all three of these Spider-Man of the new Tom Holland trilogy, or do you think he'll step away from being Spider-Man before that?
If I remember, he wants to retire from acting, but it was the same thing with like Robert Pattinson, where Robert Pattinson said, "I'm not going to do acting anymore except for Batman." I think he said something along the lines of like, "I will always come back for Spider-Man, but I want to stop after a little while."
Okay, because that's one thing that I've always worried about it with Marvel at least, and they did really well during the Infinity Saga because they did it over a span of 10 years. They made those
Right.
big contracts. They knew what they were doing. Now I feel like it's one of those things that it's like, oh, you had a Spider-Man movie that came out in what was it, 2021, and so
Yep.
we don't really know when we're gonna use you. So just kind of stick it out. Like if I were Tom Holland, I would not be afraid to go. Sorry guys, I don't really want to do this anymore, and like kind of moves
Right.
on.
But I
I
also
can't
think
blame him.
I think he also knows the way the business works, and I think that he understands that he's got to step back for a couple of years so they can make Brand New
Right.
Day. He comes back, and then like they will say, "Hey, we want you to get a little older," and so they will spread out his movies. And like obviously, he's a face of Marvel as Spider-Man, but I think he gets to take a step back with the X-Men coming to the universe, and like they
Right.
can spread him out more.
Yeah.
Do you have any more? Because I have a couple more.
Like plot points.
Yeah.
The one you probably have this on your list because you recently watched it with Falcon and the Winter Soldier is Sharon Carter.
Yep.
They had, I think it was an end credit. It could have been like the end of the show, like
It was
at
the end of the show.
Yeah, she's talking to someone. I think it's Valentina.
She is on the phone after she has just been cleared by not Congress, but some sort of court. So she's been given a full pardon
Right.
for her actions in Civil War, and she
Right.
has been reinstated into the government for whatever spy position she previously held. She's got her job back, and then she gets on the phone. I believe she's just talking to like connections from Madripoor that she has.
Okay.
But like, because she straight up says like, I'm gonna sell state secrets and XYZ and all this. I don't think it's
Yeah.
Val because Val was there for U.S. agent and she works for the government, and like that was her whole point was she wanted to make government superheroes.
Right.
So I think she's just literally trying to sell state secrets to terrorists. But like I don't know where the heck that was going.
Yeah, but and that's where I'm just like Sharon Carter's like character
She's not
leading
big
up to
enough
this
of a
point.
character to be a villain of a movie.
That, but then also like her character leading up to it has always been like sympathetic towards America. Like she's always there to help Captain America. Like she knows like she knows who Steve was, and like
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me that she's not at any point in time going to think to herself, Steve would not appreciate. Steve
Like,
would kick my butt for
I think
doing
she
this.
took
Like,
the betrayal way too hard to the point where it didn't make sense.
yeah, that's what bugs me is that like, oh yeah, let me
Like, she
just
didn't
sell the
just
stuff to
become a
terrorists.
criminal, she became like
What?
one of the most powerful criminal brokers in the world. And it's
It
like,
kind of
Right.
that's
it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere.
it did. It was
It
very,
did.
it felt, when
Like
that
when it
happened
happened
in the
in
show,
Falcon
it
and the
felt
Winter Soldier, I was
very
like,
out of the blue.
Then again,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the TV shows just kind of were that way, right? I mean,
Some of them were.
really
I think they were trying to get us to buy into the ideas of TV, so they did the cameo thing a lot. Because, like, going back to the show, it makes no sense for the Wakandans to be a part of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because at the end of the day, when Zemo is handed over to them, they don't take him back to Wakanda. He goes to the raft. So their involvement makes no
Right.
sense.
well, yeah, but I mean,
Um,
even like Moon Knight just felt. Like, I'm just talking about in general, though. Like the TV shows, a lot of the earlier TV shows just kind of were sloppy because like Moon Knight just felt very
Right.
rushed.
Moon
Like
Knight
the
was
first
very
few episodes
rushed.
were like, okay, and then it just went, hey, here's what should be like episodes in itself contained
Yeah.
into two.
Um,
one of the ones that I think will probably I don't care that we haven't seen anything. It's just for me with Marvel and me holding them to a standard of if you're gonna do this, you have to do something about it at some point,
right.
and they don't do it. And that I could see them touching this, and if they go in that cosmic route, the ending of Eternals, their
Yes.
post credit scene with Harry Styles. First off,
And
you put
Retcon it.
Styles
Please
in a
retcon it.
movie, you already know you're getting at least 500 million.
yeah.
Maybe
Retcon that shit.
So-
Get that out of here. I don't want to see it.
I am perfectly fine them basically disowning Eternals because that was basically their first like bad movie.
Yeah.
And it's not even that bad of a movie. It just didn't do well in the box office. I
1
don't
out of
mind
10.
it.
I don't mind it
However-
either, but it was one of their worst box office bombs in God knows how long.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the worst since like Iron Man 2 or something, and that was
Yeah.
their second movie they ever did. So, for me, it was
I believe I can
as an
fly.
actor, and then you also bring in Harry Styles, and you just drop that he's the brother of Thanos.
Mikey, I hope you know that your typing
It's
is
one of
louder
those
than
things
Joey.
that I'm just like, I'm curious.
I'm not typing.
I'm curious as to what we're getting with that kind of stuff, but like,
From what I
I
understand, they
would like
scrapped
to see
Eternals
it.
too.
However,
So,
I'm not worried about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
scrapped
seemingly
it.
scrapped the sequel.
It's one of those
so-
things that, yeah.
The things that I have. Do you have anything more? You, R. Kelly.
I believe I can fly.
Yes, no.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, I have like a few that I thought of, but I want to see what you have first.
I was gonna say some of them aren't super important, or like they're too new to have gone anywhere with. So I'll just kind of run through them. Scorpion in the Homecoming end credit scene has gone nowhere, but like they could now that they're gonna start doing grounded stories. The guy from Hydra has some PIM particles from the end of Ant-Man, and nobody knows what's going on with him. Kit Harington's character Dane Whitman was about to unsheath the ebony blade at the end of Eternals, and then Marshall Ali's Wesley Snipes spoke to him, and that has gone nowhere. Hulk has a son named Scar from Seemingly Planet Hulk, but that one's too new for them to have touched. I think one that they should have touched by now was the 10 rings are signaling someone or something. That one makes no sense because like you can't even guess where they're going with that. And they brought in Brie Larson and Mark Ruffalo to be like consultants with Wong.
I think
credit scene that's
I
probably
think
just going to
one
set
was
up.
supposed to be Kang.
It might
I
be
think that was
Kang,
supposed
I
to be
also
Kang.
do.
but they also might now shift it to if they go the incursion route at this point
There's
in
no
time.
way that Shang-Chi was supposed to tie into the incursions. That makes
No,
zero
well, what
sense.
I'm saying is that at this point in time, at that point when the rings were signaling something, it was the beginning of the end for the multiverse. For the multiverse, the
I think it was
incursions.
supposed to be Kang because I believe the
yeah.
word
Well,
subatomic was used.
I believe I agree. I believe it was supposed to be Kang, but now they have to change it because Kang isn't a player. So they may change
No, I
it
think
to.
they can just
Do
retcon
that?
it.
Well, I mean, they
They
could, but it would
I
make
was
more
gonna say
sense if
they
they
can
just
just
went.
retcon it. They could just
I mean,
not touch it.
They could.
I think it's better if they do ignore it.
Well, they could just say, "Hey, the rings, which are connected to the to the multiverse,
But how
knows
are they
that the
connected to the
multiverse
multiverse?
the rings are just basically signaling something, which is the multiverse coming to the end, the incursion
But
starting to happen
it's
on
so
the
early.
outskirts of the.
It's so early in the phase that it would make no sense. I
Well,
think
they're
they,
just
if I
retconning the
remember,
explanation, but again, it's not
if I
like
remember,
it's
the
not like
word
the incursions.
subatomic was used.
Well, yeah,
So
but
like,
look, what I'm getting at is it's not like the incursions all happened at once in the comics. They started a while ago. The incursions started pretty much the outer rim of the multiverse, like the more kind of like outside
right.
planets.
But all I'm
And
saying
it
is
comes
like,
onto the main universe. Same thing with this. They could just go, yeah, that's what the rings were signaling or something like that. And, we can call back to it where it wasn't a dead storyline, but it's not like they had to continue it like they wanted to. It's almost like retconning it, but also still tying the loose
I
ends.
think they can just ignore because my thing is Shang-Chi is supposed to be like Iron Fist where he is a mystical but grounded hero, so like him being thrown into that despite being in Doomsday, like it just wouldn't make sense, especially because the origin of the rings is like not of multiverse power but of space, so like it would just be a little weird.
I wonder if they're gonna try if they maybe connect it to in Doomsday if they try and connect it to Fantastic Four.
I mean, unless they just connect it
My
to the
thing is it would
cosmic.
just be so weird because it's so early in the phase that if this was a more recent
Right.
movie, I would be willing to buy into it. But like, it just makes no sense. I think it had to do with Kang.
I mean, they've
Well, I mean, it
done
probably
that
did
with
have to do
like
with Kang,
Iron
but
Man.
they.
Like Iron Man, there was Thor's hammer, and then the next movie was Thor, or two movies was Thor. So like,
Right.
it's happened. But again, that was when Marvel was in their stepping stones. They didn't have
Right.
30 different arms juggling 30,000 things.
I think the big thing is the end credit scene from Doctor Strange. Carl Mordo's crusade to kill all sorcerers has been tossed out the window because we all thought this was going to be a plot point in Multiverse of Madness. Don't know what's going on with there. Oh, and also a thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say with Multiverse of Madness, that end credit where he gets a third eye and then goes off with Cleo.
So
I think that's her name.
yeah, Clea. So that thing was actually that's the first time they said the word incursion when Doctor Strange sleptwalked into the zombie body to fight Wanda. He caused an incursion,
that's
but
right.
nobody forgets about it.
right.
And then Clea says, "You need to help me fix this incursion." Rips a hole in space time, and they step through it. But
Yeah.
we all seemingly just kind of forgot about that because the movie wasn't great and there was a lot else going on. And like nobody had thought of because we still had Kang, so nobody had thought about incursions at that point.
Right.
So I think that's interesting. Can we blame Doctor Strange for the events that are about to happen? Maybe. I think it'd be interesting if that's what they decided to go with that. Those are all of the plot points that I have. Oh, and the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal is alive at the end of Far From Home. So is Mysterio really dead? Who knows?
Well,
Is he really?
Yeah, remember there's that whole thing where when Peter's at the airport at the end of the movie, there's a guy on the phone wearing a ball cap, and he kind of looks over at the camera, and then if you freeze frame it just right, and then they did later confirm at the end after the movie had come out, it is Jake Gyllenhaal because everyone was already questioning if he was dead because of the ambiguous way that Edith worded that, like, because he was like, "Is he dead?" And then Edith like kind of like said yes, but also like went around the question, and so people were wondering, "Is he really?" So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if
The
Mysterio
other,
comes back to create,
the
say,
only
Sinister Six.
three things that I've thought of while looking at my list of other movies. Um, at, Also in Shang-Chi, you have the sister that takes over the Ten Rings,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
like
The
terrorist
group.
group or whatever they are. You
I think
have
that's going
that.
to be a part of
You
Shang-Chi
have
too.
in Wakanda Forever. This one you don't have to touch at all. It's just to point it out. Is Prince T'Challa?
That is
How
such a
T'Challa
weird
had a
plot
kid.
point. I rewatched it and I liked it the first time. I do not like it now. It makes no sense.
What was the other one I had?
The also
For
thing I
Love and
learned is
Thunder,
oh yeah, that one that's going to be a part of Thor 5,
Hercules.
which we do have news about. Um, Thor 5 seemingly in the works. We know three things about it. One, Taika Waititi is not going to direct it.
Yay.
Number two is
Dubs.
that Chris Hemsworth is pushing for Sam Hargrave, the director of the Extraction movies and former Marvel stuntman, to be the director for this. I would love that. And then the third thing we know
Okay.
is Chris Hemsworth would only make Thor 5 if it was not like the Taika Waititi movies and more along the lines of the first two. He said he would,
Okay.
if it was like the Taika Waititi movies, he was not ever going to make Thor 5. So from what we understand, this is going to be like him fighting the other gods,
Cool.
like Hercules. So like, I think we're gonna go back to like just
Right.
brute force, like Clash of the Titans,
Right.
which like
I'm,
I'm totally down for.
I'm fine with it. I'm trying to think of any other
I don't have any other plot
plot
points.
points.
That haven't
Guardians
been
of the
worked.
Galaxy. I mean, the end we see the new Guardians team. I don't think we'll touch that in a while.
I think
Plus, a
that'll be
lot
a
of
part
the.
of the cosmic era, and they're just gonna leave it alone for now.
I think they'll leave it alone for now. But also, a lot of the Guardians actors have said that
They won't
other
come
than
back
Chris
unless
Pratt,
James.
have said that they won't return unless James Gunn returns, which he will not return.
Yeah,
If he does,
and
that would be amazing. However, I don't think he will.
it's not happening.
That's also the other thing is that Star Lord is going to return, which he was not mentioned in the Doomsday cast.
No, but Chris Pratt
Um,
did go on Jimmy Kimmel and straight up say, "I will be back for Doomsday."
Yeah, in which they did say after the chair thing that there are 25 more.
They
20
said there's going to be more, but then
some.
like as it goes on, there's been more and more leaks, but like some of them you can't tell if they're true. We did get a leaked confirmation that Mark Ruffalo will return as Hulk for both of the movies. But the like there were some that
Right.
came out that were really weird and like there's no way they were true, and then some that was like Mark Ruffalo where it's like, yeah, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, like that one's.
I think part of it was they didn't want
Other
to
than
spoil New Avengers, and the fact that one of the plot points that's come out is that the reason Sam Wilson won't give them the Avengers name is because he has off screen in that 14-month time jump recruited his own team of Avengers. So I don't think they wanted to announce all the names because some of them were going to be a part of that and they were waiting for Thunderbolts. Do we have anything else? Because I have other news.
Other than that, for like plot points that they've like touched on, there's probably a few others that they've touched upon. Like you have I forget what it's called, but where all of the Asgardians go when they're dead. I forget what it's called.
Oh, Valhalla.
Yeah, like we had that end credit with Idris Elba and Natalie Portman.
I think that was
You
a
don't
fan
really
service
need
thing.
to touch it, but it's more of like the fact of like, yeah, did you do that for fan service? Did you do that for closure? If they did it for that purposes, I'm fine with it. But it was kind of weird that they like did it in general.
I think it's for closure because in Norse mythology, during the events of Ragnarok, the gates of Valhalla open and all the warriors come back out. And so the fact that that didn't happen during the MCU's Ragnarok and like the gates are still closed, like I think they're just going to do that for Natalie Portman's closure.
This is also random. Is Lady Sif still alive?
Yes, she was at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder with her one arm.
That's another one that like I'm fine if you let the character die. I remember seeing after the Doomsday cast stuff, a lot of people were like, "Where's Lady Sif?" I'm like, "Why do we care?"
Yeah, I don't know why.
What?
She might. I don't know. They also said that because the entire movie was told by Korg's perspective, that they can literally have the Thor 5 start with him and then Chris Hemsworth walking up and going, "What are you talking about? None of that happened." And like retcon the whole movie and just say it was some tall tale, which they won't do, but I thought was hilarious.
They should do that because then we can properly
That
do
would
Gore
be
the God Butcher.
amazing.
Maybe
Anyway.
Thor 5 is the real events of what happened in Thor 4.
Thor 5 is probably going to be War of the Gods, where he's just fighting everybody, which, if that's like God of War the movie, but with Chris Hemsworth, I am okay with that.
But yeah, that's pretty much with plot points and stuff, which, like we said, there's probably going to be a soft reboot, so a lot of this stuff they're probably never going to touch again, which is okay, but I hope that they would at least learn their lesson of, you know, instead of showing an end credit scene with Hercules and then never touch him again, don't bring it up. You don't have to do end credit scenes anymore. Like, yes, it was cool and all, but you did that when you knew exactly what you were leading into. Like, they did it great with Thunderbolts. You did it where they filmed it at Doomsday. You know exactly where the story's going. With Thor: Love and Thunder, you did this and you were like, "Oop, look out, here comes Hercules." Nope, not at all. We're not going to touch it again. Like,
I will say the only
do
thing
them
is
when you're confident.
that was the first time we saw Hercules.
That's
he wasn't in the rest of the movie, so I can understand that at least.
Yeah, that's my only ask at this point from Marvel is, if you're gonna do end credit scenes,
plan
do
on
them
better.
when you're confident. Other than that, don't do it. Yes,
stick to a better schedule for releases.
Like, Brave New Worlds end credit.
That was the dumbest. Should not have even made an end credit scene at that point.
You don't need it. You don't need it. It's basically just the leader going, "Oh, I'm really smart and I know that there's other people in other universes," and we're like sitting there in the theater, like,
yeah,
come on. It's just. It's
yeah, but to be fair, if you got to establish in some way, shape, or form that the characters existing in this universe need to be aware of multiverse.
But they don't, though, because Sam Wilson is the only one who knows that. So when the Fantastic Four ship appears at the end of Thunderbolts, it doesn't matter because none of those guys know anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it just made no sense. And, like, even in that point, you don't have to establish the multiverse in his mind for the incursions. You can just have them happen. And even though he knows, okay, so there might be a multiverse, he's still going to freak the F out when the incursion happens.
But the life raft, if there's somebody building a life raft, whether that be Reed Richards or,
I don't think it matters.
F4,
I think
I would believe they're going to do.
It wouldn't change what they're going to write for that. Because it was, Mikey, I urge you to like go onto YouTube and just watch that end credit scene because it is just the way they word it is incredibly stupid. Because he doesn't say multiverse, he just says there are other worlds out there, and that's the end credit scene. Anyway, future news: Vincent D'Onofrio straight up said that there's going to be a Born Again season 3, even though they're filming season 2 right now. So very happy about that. Anthony Mackie recently posted a video of him on the set of Doomsday. He is somewhere in what looks like the Arctic. People are wondering, is this going to be Latveria, or is this a reference to when the new Avengers had a base in the Celestial that was at the North Pole in the comics? I could see either one happening, except in the movies that we have, the new Avengers are just in the old Stark Tower. But I do wonder if on Battleworld we are going to get like a new Avenger base in the North Pole, and like that's what it is. I didn't send this to you guys because I was hoping you wouldn't see it so I could get your reactions. The TVA comics have been the only canon comic series in the MCU. They have confirmed that Scarlet Witch is dead.
Really?
We all thought she was alive because she was in taken by the TVA and taken there.
The TVA.
In the newest issue, Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen frees the Scarlet Witch from the TVA capsule, but it turns out that Nightmare, the Fear Lord, is actually possessing the Scarlet Witch and that she's dead. And I think that was a big thing of
that's funny.
They knew that if Elizabeth Olsen probably wasn't going to be able to come back anyway because of scheduling stuff, and they were just like, leave her dead at that point.
Right.
Some other random news. Lewis Pullman, the guy who plays Bob, said that he auditioned for a role in Kraven the Hunter. He was probably going to audition, or he probably did audition for the guy who becomes the chameleon. And he auditioned for somebody else along the lines in the MCU, and I can't remember who it was. Oh, he auditioned for Ned Leeds, which Joey and I said that would be a very different movie if he was Ned Leeds, just because different personality.
Extremely.
Oh yeah. Thank God he was not cast in Kraven, because I feel like he would not get the second chance he deserves for Thunderbolts.
Nope.
As Marvel loves to, make side characters that are liked by fans into something. I had a feeling she would become something. Mel, the Valentina's assistant from the Thunderbolts, is teased to be Melissa Gold, aka Songbird, which means that with Wiccan, if that is her, with Marvel coming out and saying Hulkling will be a part of the future, with Speed, they're seemingly building the Sunspot's AIM team. There's a part in the comics where Sunspot takes over the AIM, which we saw in Iron Man 3. If they do the X-Men, they can do this, because then it's just going to be like a mini Young Avengers team. And it's going to kind of resemble something we see in like those animated Disney XD shows. And they might get their own little series or movie or something. And they're just a collection of like cool young characters. So I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it.
During an interview after production started, Alan Cumming, who plays Nightcrawler, teases a fight between Fantastic Four and X-Men. We had all talked about, like, in the comics, like, the X-Men fight the Avengers and, like, blah, 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 blah. It seems like that is going to happen at some point, because he straight up said, quote, "I'm sort of learning these fights," and I'm like, wait, who am I fighting against? And they say, "You're hitting Pedro Pascal in the face." So we're going to get some sort of interesting like conflict between them, which I'm glad they are doing. Right. Thunderbolts director Drake Schreier is currently the lead person being eyed to direct the X-Men reboot movie for the MCU. This is a great idea, because he obviously knows what he's doing and he knows how to bring good tone. And allegedly Marvel has started eyeing the X-Men actors for their new film. Allegedly, Patrick Schwarzenegger, known for The White Lotus and Gen V, is possibly going to be the new Cyclops. I would love that. And then actress Trinity Bliss, she hasn't really had a standout project yet as the new Jubilee. I think the big thing is that they are eyeing Jubilee, which is a character from the old X-Men TV shows and like the old comics and stuff. Yeah. And so like they really want to bring in some of the characters
in these recent.
They really want to go like good comic accurate, like get some of the right people in. And then the other thing is the whole like Marvel is dead, Marvel is back. We didn't really get to see, we got to see the numbers. Global box office, Thunderbolts is a success. And then with Daredevil Born Again, because it doesn't make money, they did like some sort of, I don't know, data thing where they looked at who got an account recent to Daredevil Born Again, and then like who of those accounts watched Daredevil Born Again. That series helped Disney gain 1.4 million subscribers when they were projected to lose a couple 100,000 during that time period. So people are buying back into certain projects, and I think like this is a good trend in the right direction. And then the last thing I have is that
that's really good.
Yeah. Sentry is going to get a new suit for Avengers Doomsday. It's not going to be what he wore in Thunderbolts, which I think is good because it's going to help with like him getting his whatchamacallit under control. And then this got announced today. Since it's going to be the OG Mystique, they are not going to have the weird naked makeup thing, and they're going to give her an actual suit. I just thought that was important to bring up because we all remember how weird that is looking back watching that movie.
Yeah, it's weird.
Other than that, there is no more news other than the original Fantastic Four from the Chris Evans movie. The guy who plays Reed Richards says if they call him, he will come back immediately for the new Avengers movies. So I was thinking, people keep saying Miles Teller should come back and play the Maker. If anyone should do it, and he's willing, they should have it be him.
Yeah, that would. Well, yeah.
Mostly just because he's older than Miles Teller, so it makes sense.
But the thing is, Miles Teller has at this point probably. He's kind of has his surge of popularity.
Yeah, but like, I think just because the other guy's older, it would make more sense. But also, like, if Miles Teller never has to play Mr. Fantastic again, I think he will be perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
We can find another role
Plus,
for him.
I was gonna say I don't think he was a great Reed Richards in general. Like he didn't seem like his character in the movie didn't feel like Reed Richards, and he himself doesn't give off Reed Richards.
I think the entire cast was so young that nobody felt like anyone because what's her name? Kate Mara did not really feel like an Invisible Woman. Michael B. Jordan is a fantastic actor, especially with like recent projects we've seen. He was not a great Johnny. And then I don't even remember who played Ben Grimm, but like the design for that move for that thing was really weird, and so like that took me out of it. And then I don't even remember who the heck Doctor. Like nobody was cast well in that movie, and that's no hate to the actors, but like it was just bad.
No, it's more of the stuff of the actors went and they tried for a role, and they were successful. They got a role.
They were apparently the best.
Doing what they were told is they were acting, and so that's what they did. It's not their fault that they weren't bad. It's the casting agency. It's the crew that casted poorly, and that's how it ended.
Yeah, I even said this in my Wakanda Forever review. Is that like I really hate Ironheart. I don't hate Dominique Thorne because she played the character how it is. I just hate the character. And it's just one of those things where, like, yes, she probably was one of, if not the best person that auditioned for that role. She played it to, like, how Ironheart is in the comics. I just hate Ironheart.
I think I've expressed my dislike for most Marvel Legacy characters. And I think that
some legacy characters are great because, like, John Walker is his own character. Kate Bishop is her own character. Ironheart is not her own character. It seems like her personality is very 1-to-1 for Tony Stark.
Kate Bishop is the only legacy character that Marvel has produced that I can honestly say that I've liked, that I can think of. That is, because I mean, I don't really count Miles Morales as a legacy.
I would say
character.
He's technically a legacy character.
I mean, he is in a way because
technically a legacy, but I feel like in this point he's become his own.
But that's what I'm saying is like they give him new powers, they give him a different background, they give him a different personality. He becomes his own character.
He's technically
in the TV show we see Kate Bishop. She's a completely different person than Clint Bishop, Clint Barton, but they both have a bow and arrow. Yet she's her own character. Even Yelena, they're both with Natasha Romanoff. They're both Black Widows. They both, as she says, we all just punch and shoot. But they're two completely different people.
The thing is, a legacy character should have respect for the previous character, yet also being their own person. So
she's not very original, is my problem. Like, her personality is very Tony Stark. Her suit design is crap, in my opinion.
The only legacy character that I can honestly say that I've genuinely liked that Marvel has done is Kate Bishop. I think that John Walker could have been a good legacy character for Captain America in the MCU had they not pretty much just did him so dirty in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Would you put Sam Wilson's Captain America as a legacy? I would say
no, because he's always been different.
He's a legacy character.
He's always been his own thing.
He's a legacy character when he becomes Captain America, and I've never liked him as Captain America. I don't like Bucky as Captain America either. I never have.
I wouldn't.
It's like. Look,
I wouldn't because he's Captain America, but he's always been his own version of Captain America.
But when he becomes Captain America, he becomes a legacy character at that point. He becomes a legacy character of Captain America. It's the exact same thing with Nightwing. When Nightwing becomes Batman, he becomes a legacy character of Batman. He actually works as a legacy character of Batman. But my thing is,
like, Sam Wilson, like, even in Brave New World, Sam Wilson is still nothing like Steve Rogers. He does not act like him. He does not talk like him. And he's still Sam Wilson.
But that's what makes him a bad legacy character.
Right.
He's a good character. He's a bad legacy character. That's the difference. A good legacy character.
Well, that's why I don't qualify Sam Wilson as a legacy character.
But he is a legacy character.
But Captain America is not a.
When he becomes
a title. He is just taking the title. That's how I see it. It's the same thing as Spider-Man with Miles Morales. Is Spider-Man is now a title, but he's taking his own thing and doing his own thing with it.
Miles is technically a legacy character in the Ultimate universe, and that's
but even in the video games
different.
And the animated movies, he is his own thing, but he shares the same name. He's not Spider-Venom or Black Spider-Man or Spider-Kid. He is Spider-Man. Even in the Insomniac video games, they are both Spider-Man.
The only difficult part when it comes to Miles in a lot of iterations is he exists while Peter still exists. Therefore, he's not fully a legacy character.
Not entirely. In the Ultimate, he's kind of on his own thing. And in the Ultimate, TV show... In the Ultimate TV show, he doesn't become Spider-Man until Peter dies.
Well, yeah, and then in those iterations, he's a legacy character.
But he's a completely different thing. Is my thing.
A legacy character is somebody who follows the legacy of another character when they leave. That's the definition of a legacy character.
But I'm saying he's good because he's his own thing. He just has the same title. But like Kate Bishop doesn't call herself Hawkeye.
Yes, she does.
Not in the TV show, she doesn't. That's what I'm saying. That's why she's a good legacy character, because she doesn't need the title. Joey, you're the prettiest of us all, so I don't want to hear it.
What I am getting at is
go back to Wise and pick up your jacket for the third day in a row.
Not cool, man. Not cool. What I am
whoa. Yeah, Mikey, I don't know if you noticed, I left it at work again.
Yeah, I saw that. Not cool, man. I just gave it back to you after 3 months of it sitting in my car.
Go get your water bottle
which was in
while
itself
you're at it.
3 months after sitting in... Oh, I gotta get my card fest. I gotta add another tally. But what I'm getting at is that a good legacy character, should pay respect to the previous character, yet doing their own thing. And the problem is, a good version of that is, like, honestly, is Nightwing. Like, he dons the mantle of Batman. He's still his own character, but it's not like he's wearing some weird mixture of a Nightwing costume and a Batman costume going, I'm Batman. He realizes that Gotham City needs Batman, and they need the Batman that Bruce was, but at the same time, he can't be that Bruce. He can't be that Batman. But by that
logic, you're saying that Sam Wilson is good because he doesn't have the super serum, so therefore he needs his wings.
I just said
using the shield and the red, white, and blue. He's still standing for the same thing as Steve Rogers, but he's not. Steve Rogers.
He's practically still Falcon, just with a different title on the shield. That's why I'm saying he's not a good legacy character.
You didn't watch Captain America 4.
That's what I'm saying about in general, though. I've never liked him as I've never liked him as
Joey.
I think
Joey, do you want to end the episode?
I feel like I just keep saying the same thing.
Brayden's coming from the movie standpoint. Brayden's coming from the movie standpoint of legacy from Steve Rogers. He has done well considering what he has been given. Mikey is coming from the angle of the comics, and where he is Falcon in those, and then he dons Captain America in the comics. Both of you are right, in my opinion. In Brayden's side of it, with the movie aspect, he's done well enough that you can consider him one of the better legacy characters in the cinematic universe. I though, agree with Mikey in saying that I don't think in the comic...
I believe I can fly.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying, is I don't know why we're talking about the comics and bringing Batman into us, because we're talking about the movies, and then Mikey not seeing the newest movie. Like, he's only seen... Like, because Sam Wilson is a crappy legacy to Steve Rogers in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's a horrible, like, next guy up, but he is so much better in Brave New World.
Yeah. This is random, and I heard this from another podcast that I listened to. They were talking about DC and talking about Superman, and then they were also discussing a little bit of Spider-Man and Beyond the Spider-Verse, blah, blah, blah. So the question that they had, and I want to know what your guys' opinion on it is what needs what would you rather flop? Superman or Beyond the Spider-Verse?
Superman.
Okay.
Because Beyond the
Mikey?
Spider-Verse, if that it's the same argument they made, because I know what you're talking about. If Spider-Verse fails, then
Yeah.
Across is suddenly no longer a good movie. But if Superman fails, they can still limp their way into Peacemaker and Lanterns because it's already being made. Nothing is riding on Superman in the sense of like the rest of the universe. It just has to make money, and people are going to see it whether it's good or bad.
I think, yeah.
They just have to dig
I
Warner
think
Brothers
that
out of the financial money pit. It doesn't actually have to be
I
a good movie.
I don't see that as the main I think Superman needs to do well as a movie in general in storytelling to really propel this universe. It does need to make a lot of money. However, I feel like it also needs that story to help.
I don't even think it needs to be a great story.
Because
I
stories
think
make
you
money,
just
too.
need. I think you need the bare minimum for characters as opposed to story, just so people buy in. Just so people like us buy into James Gunn and his zany personality. Like I'm
Right.
fully expecting the story to not as much of a mess as Deadpool and Wolverine, because that is a mess of a story. But like I am expecting a bit of a mess for the Superman story, just because there's so much going on, seemingly, and the fact that
And we haven't
Warner
gotten a
Brothers
story
said that
trailer.
Warner Brothers said this was going to be Barbie level marketing when they first started promoting this movie. Today is May 11th, and in exactly 2 months, Superman is going to come out. We have zero second trailer.
Zero marketing.
And James Gunn said as of yesterday or today that the second trailer is and has been finalized. James, put out the second trailer. You should have put out the second trailer before Thunderbolts dropped so people would see it when they went to go see a superhero movie. Guess what? All you have now is Fantastic Four, which comes out the same week or the week before or the week after Superman. You can't put this movie in theaters for any other superhero project. So legitimately, what are you doing? We got a Peacemaker trailer before we got a story trailer with like legitimate dialogue in it. Because if you look back, it's just little sound bites in the Superman trailer. There's zero dialogue in that thing. So, like, what are we doing? I genuinely don't think that James understands the business of, like, higher than a director. I think they should have sent him to community college and given him a minor in business or something.
Right.
It genuinely ticks me off because I don't
Mikey,
think he's a
what do you
bad
think on
director.
that?
I think he's just way in over his head and, like, doesn't comprehend what everything needs to be done.
He's a kid at heart.
I do think, yeah, but I just think that, like, if he's supposed to be the creative director, what the hell is Peter Safran doing? I thought he was supposed to take care of the business aspect of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
What does he do? Does he just sit around and collect a paycheck?
Probably.
Yeah, that's
Mikey,
my
what do
biggest
you
thing.
think?
The lack of
Superman flop.
I mean, it's one of those things that in order for James Gunn to have some sort of faith in his universe, Superman needs to succeed. I don't think it's going to be
my
entirely...
thing is, he will always have faith in himself, and he doesn't care if people like him or not. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, but for Warner Brothers' sake, if Superman flops, then they're going to hit the brakes hard.
I don't think so, because David Zaslav already said he wanted to promote James and Peter Safran to, like, the head of Warner Brothers production or whatever the title is. Like, he wanted to make them the highest position they could be in Warner Brothers movies, which, like, I think Warner Brothers is so bought in they can't see the flaws that we see in James Gunn and, like, his crappy advertising and, like, his zany personality and all of that.
And the thing is, if Superman flops, all of that will change.
I don't think so.
Believe me,
James Gunn got fired from.
They have already proved they can switch up their mind immediately. If the movie flops and the movie does not make enough money, they will change their mind.
The reported budget is anywhere from 250 to 350 million. This movie will probably not be a box office failure. I think they will between the just from the worldwide release. This movie will easily not flop at the box office, and I think that is all they are looking for.
When we see,
and I think as long as that happens, they'll buy in.
When we see the budget, it does not include marketing prices. which is typically
There is no
a third.
marketing. He spent $5. All he has done is paid for YouTube Premium.
At the end of the day, if Beyond the Spider-Verse flops, people are not going to look at Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and go, those two are bad movies. They're going to go...
They will look at Across and do that because Across ended on a cliffhanger, and they will say it's all for nothing. They will do that.
I was going to say...
I don't think they'll say it's... They might say it's all for nothing. They won't... They're not going to go, oh, that's a bad movie. They're just going to go, oh, wow, that cliffhanger
They will look down on Across the Spider-Verse if
I was going to say...
sucks.
I think you're
underestimating the toxicity of
my thing with
Marvel
both of
fans.
this. Oh yeah, my thing with both of these films, Superman, I don't think will flop at all. Like you said, theatrical wise and making money, it's gonna make money. It's at the least, in my opinion, will make at the minimum like $700 million because.
Yes.
And this was smart. And again, they talked about this on... I just watched this podcast the other day, the episode that they have. They talked about it. They dropped the legacy part of Superman. It's literally just called Superman. Superman is the anchor comic book hero. Like, if you ask, okay, what comic book heroes do you know to some person that never really knows anything about comics, they could probably name off at least 4 or 5. And every single time, Superman is going to be in that list. So people are going to go see it because it's Superman, which just makes them money in general. So I think that the biggest thing with it is that Superman's story, good or not, won't flop. Spider-Man relies more on the story, in my opinion.
And I think the other thing is that, like, nothing is actually riding on Superman. If this gets poorly reviewed, not even poorly reviewed, if everyone comes out and just says it's fine, it's still going to make money, everything is still done. Like, by the time this movie comes out, Peacemaker's done, Lanterns will basically be done, Supergirl will basically be done. Nothing is actually riding on this. James Gunn is not going to get fired over a mediocre production on his initial movie because, honestly, if I'm a business executive at Warner Brothers, I'm expecting a very mediocre out the gates. I'm not expecting this to end up being a top 10 DCU movie if they make a 10-year run of it. So my thing is, this could flop.
At the minimum,
this could flop from a fan, but not a money standpoint. The story, I think, can still be the base minimum. I think if the fans don't love it, and as long as it makes the movie, or it makes the money, it literally means nothing to the future of the DCU. Like, this could have an average of, like, a 2.9 on Letterboxd at the end of the day, and it just won't matter. Did we lose Joey again?
I think we did. I believe I can fly.
Well, with that being said, we're at a hour and a half. We said we weren't going to play Connections because we were too busy just trying to get in, and I think we all knew this was going to run a little bit long. So, does anybody have any last-minute thoughts on anything?
I hate John
Lennon. No, not really. I'm just... We've talked about this a lot, and I kind of just realized, like, we never really have talked about it on the show, is this summer is going to be really fun for movies. I know that we're excited to go see a lot of different things. Superman, although Mikey says he's not going to see it, we're going to drag him along anyways. We're trying to see that in IMAX. You know, you have Jurassic World that's coming out. You have Fantastic Four. I completely forgot that How to Train Your Dragon's coming out in like a week or something. Lilo and Stitch, I'm excited for. There's a lot of things to be excited for, and so I'm just really excited to see where, you know, movies this year are gonna go, and then also where, you know, this show will go with a lot of different movies coming out.
Yeah, I have a feeling next episode might be a road so far, and we can talk about the big things that have come out, because there has been a lot of really good things we have not gotten to talk about, and some really bad things we have not gotten to talk about.
Yeah. I am really looking forward to the Expedian movie. We saw the trailer for that when we went to go see Thunderbolts. It looks great.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with theaters over that, but that's for another time.
Alrighty. Well,
with that being said, thank you all for joining us. Leave a comment about what you thought about Thunderbolts and other movies that you're excited to see for the rest of the summer. And with that being said, stay tuned, everyone.